November 15th, 1975. The glittering lights of Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas were shining brighter than usual as the entertainment capital of the world prepared to host one of the most ambitious live television specials in broadcasting history. Champions of the World was conceived as a cultural celebration that would bring together the greatest figures from sports, entertainment, and the arts for a 2-hour live broadcast that would reach an estimated 70 million viewers across 40 countries. The concept was revolutionary for its time. Instead of keeping celebrities within their respective industries, the special would create conversations and interactions between legends who had never shared the same stage. The goal was to explore what greatness meant in different fields and to celebrate the diverse ways that human excellence could manifest itself. Among the most anticipated segments was a discussion between Muhammad Ali, the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world who had become a global icon for his boxing prowess and larger-than-life personality, and Alain Delon, the French cinema legend whose international stardom and European sophistication had made him one of the most recognizable faces in the world. At 33, Ali was at the absolute peak of his career, having recently defeated Joe Frazier in the Thrilla in Manila and established himself not just as the greatest boxer of his generation, but as one of the most charismatic and controversial figures in all of sports. His combination of athletic dominance, quick wit, and willingness to speak his mind on any subject had made him appointment television whenever he appeared. Alain, at 40, represented a different kind of greatness. His decades of success in international cinema had established him as the epitome of European sophistication and masculine elegance. Unlike the brash, outspoken Ali, Alain projected a more reserved, controlled image that spoke to old-world refinement and cultural sophistication. The segment was designed to explore the different ways that strength and masculinity were expressed in American sports culture versus European artistic culture. Howard Cosell, the legendary sports broadcaster known for his fearless interviewing style and his complex relationship with Ali, was chosen to moderate the discussion. The conversation began cordially enough, with both men showing mutual respect for each other's achievements and international stature. Cosell asked thoughtful questions about the nature of physical versus artistic performance, the role of charisma in building a global audience, and the responsibility that came with worldwide fame. But the tone began to shift when the conversation turned to the topic of toughness and what it meant to be a real man in the modern world. Ali, who had never been shy about expressing his opinions, began talking about the difference between movie tough and real tough, suggesting that there was a fundamental difference between actors who played strong characters and athletes who actually demonstrated their strength against real opposition. "You see, Howard," Ali said with his characteristic confidence, "there's a big difference between looking tough on a movie screen and being tough when there's a real opponent trying to knock your head off. These Hollywood fellows, they look good in their fancy suits, but when it comes down to real fighting, real toughness, that's a different story altogether." The comment was clearly directed at Alain, though Ali delivered it with his usual charm and seemingly playful demeanor. But there was an edge to his voice that suggested he was making a serious point about the distinction between performed toughness and authentic physical courage. Alain's response was measured and sophisticated, as was his style. "I think, Muhammad, that there are many different kinds of strength and many different ways to demonstrate courage. The physical courage you show in the ring is certainly one form of bravery, but there are others as well." Ali was not satisfied with this diplomatic response. His competitive instincts, which had made him the greatest boxer in the world, were beginning to take over. "That's a nice way to put it, but let's be honest here. You French actors, you're all pretty boys who know how to wear fancy clothes and say pretty words. But when it comes down to it, when there's real danger, real physical threat, you wouldn't know what to do." The studio audience, which had been enjoying the friendly banter between two international celebrities, began to sense that something more serious was developing. Cosell, recognizing that the conversation was moving into potentially controversial territory, attempted to steer it back toward safer ground. But Ali was just getting started. Standing up from his chair with the fluid grace that had made him such a formidable boxer, he began moving around the stage in the way that had intimidated so many opponents. "I'll tell you what, pretty boy," he said, now clearly addressing Alain directly. "You think you're tough? You think you know anything about real fighting? Let me show you what real toughness looks like."
What happened next shocked the 70 million viewers who were watching the live broadcast. Ali, in what appeared to be a demonstration of his boxing skills, threw a quick jab in Alain's direction. It wasn't a full power punch intended to cause serious harm, but it was clearly more than a playful gesture. It was a real punch thrown by the heavyweight champion of the world, and it was aimed at a movie actor who had no apparent way to defend himself. But Alain Delon was not just any movie actor. Instead of flinching, backing away, or showing the fear that Ali had apparently expected, Alain moved with surprising speed and precision. He slipped Ali's jab with a subtle head movement that demonstrated genuine boxing technique, not the kind of choreographed movement that might be learned for a film role. Before Ali could recover from his surprise at having his punch avoided so skillfully, Alain had stepped forward and delivered a perfectly executed counterpunch that stopped just inches from Ali's jaw. The speed, timing, and technical precision of the movement was unmistakably that of someone who had serious boxing training. The studio fell completely silent. The 70 million viewers around the world watched in stunned amazement as one of the most sophisticated actors in international cinema demonstrated boxing skills that appeared to rival those of professional fighters. Ali, who had been expecting to embarrass Alain with a demonstration of the difference between movie tough and real tough, found himself face to face with someone whose boxing technique was clearly authentic and highly developed. "Where did you learn to do that?" Ali asked, his tone now showing genuine respect rather than playful aggression. Alain's response was delivered with the same calm, controlled demeanor he had maintained throughout the encounter, but now there was a new element of authority in his voice. "I spent 3 years training with professional boxers in Paris before I began my film career. I wanted to understand what real physical courage looked like before I tried to portray it on screen." What followed was one of the most remarkable reversals in live television history. Ali, who had begun the encounter by questioning Alain's authenticity and toughness, now found himself genuinely impressed by the revelation that this European actor possessed legitimate boxing skills. "Man, you really know how to move," Ali said, his competitive instincts now giving way to professional respect. "Show me that slip again. That was beautiful technique." For the next 10 minutes, the 70 million viewers were treated to an impromptu boxing lesson as Ali and Alain demonstrated and discussed various aspects of boxing technique. What had begun as a confrontation between a real fighter and a movie star had transformed into a conversation between two men who shared a genuine understanding and respect for the sweet science of boxing. The authenticity of Alain's boxing background became even more apparent as the conversation continued. He demonstrated footwork that showed years of serious training, discussed the mental aspects of boxing with the insight of someone who had actually been in the ring, and showed a technical knowledge that impressed even Ali. "You know what, Alain?" Ali said, as the segment was coming to an end. "I apologize for what I said earlier. I thought you were just another pretty boy actor, but you are the real deal. Any man who can move like that, who's put in the work to learn real boxing, that's a man I can respect." The mutual respect that developed between the two legends in those final minutes was genuine and moving. Ali, who was not known for backing down from his statements or admitting error, had encountered something he hadn't expected, an actor who had taken the time to develop authentic skills rather than simply relying on appearance and charisma. Alain, meanwhile, had demonstrated that his European sophistication was not a mask for weakness or superficiality, but was built on a foundation of genuine toughness and dedication to understanding the roles he portrayed.
The encounter became a cultural touchstone for discussions about authenticity, preparation, and the different forms that courage and toughness could take. Alain's revelation that he had spent years learning real boxing before portraying fighters on screen challenged assumptions about the difference between real and performed toughness. For Ali, the encounter was a reminder that greatness could be found in unexpected places and that his assumptions about actors and European culture had been based on stereotypes rather than reality. It was a humbling moment for a man who was not used to being surprised by anyone's physical capabilities. For Alain, the encounter represented a vindication of his approach to his craft. His decision to invest years in learning real boxing skills before portraying fighters had been motivated by his commitment to authenticity, but it had also prepared him for a moment when those skills would be tested in the most public way possible. The Champions of the World special became one of the most talked-about television events of the 1970s, largely because of the Alain Delon segment. The encounter was replayed countless times and analyzed from every possible angle by sports commentators, entertainment journalists, and cultural critics. Years later, both men would speak fondly of their encounter on that November evening. Ali would often tell interviewers that meeting Alain Delon had taught him not to judge people by their appearance or their profession, and that real toughness could be found in the most unexpected places. Alain, characteristically more reserved in his public statements, would say simply that his encounter with Ali had reminded him of the importance of being prepared for any challenge, and that mutual respect between men of different backgrounds was always possible when both parties approached each other with honesty and openness. The legacy of that night extends far beyond the immediate entertainment value of watching two legends from different worlds find common ground. It became a lesson about the dangers of assumptions, the value of preparation, and the possibility of finding respect and understanding even in moments of conflict. If this incredible story of assumptions challenged and respect earned has inspired you, make sure to subscribe and share this video with someone that needs to understand that true greatness comes in many forms and that the most authentic people are often those who prepare for challenges in ways that others never see. Tell us in the comments about times when your assumptions about someone were completely wrong, because sometimes the most important lessons about character and capability are learned when we're forced to confront our own prejudices and preconceptions. The broadcasting significance of the encounter cannot be overstated. Television executives had never before witnessed a live moment where genuine conflict between major celebrities had transformed into mutual respect and admiration. The segment became a template for how live television could create authentic moments that transcended scripted entertainment. The technical aspects of what viewers witnessed also became a subject of intense analysis among boxing experts and film critics. Slow-motion replays of Alain's defensive movement and counterpunch were studied by professional boxing trainers, many of whom concluded that his technique demonstrated years of serious high-level training rather than the superficial movement coaching typically provided for film roles. The cultural implications of the encounter resonated far beyond the entertainment and sports worlds. Sociologists and cultural anthropologists began using the Alain Delon segment as an example of how assumptions about national character, professional identity, and cultural sophistication could be challenged and transformed through authentic human interaction. The encounter also had a significant impact on how actors approached physically demanding roles in subsequent years. Alain's demonstration that serious preparation could provide authentic capability rather than just convincing appearance influenced a generation of performers who began investing in real training rather than relying solely on cinematic technique. The international reaction to the broadcast revealed fascinating cultural differences in how the encounter was interpreted. American audiences were largely impressed by Alain's hidden boxing skills and Ali's gracious acknowledgement of his error. European audiences, meanwhile, took pride in seeing their sophisticated cultural representative demonstrate that refinement and toughness were not mutually exclusive. The segment became required viewing in film schools and sports journalism programs as an example of how authentic moments could emerge from planned television programming when genuine personalities were allowed to interact without excessive scripting or production control. Boxing historians have noted that Ali's reaction to Alain's skills represented one of the few times the champion was genuinely surprised by an opponent's capabilities. His immediate shift from aggression to respect demonstrated the professional fighter's ability to recognize authentic skill regardless of the context in which it was displayed. The lasting friendship that developed between Ali and Alain following their television encounter became legendary in both sports and entertainment circles. They would often be seen together at international events, with Ali frequently introducing Alain as the toughest actor in the world, and Alain reciprocating with praise for Ali's character and intelligence beyond his boxing achievements. The encounter also influenced television programming for decades to come, with producers constantly seeking to recreate the magic of that unscripted moment when two legends from different worlds found common ground through mutual respect and authentic capability. Years later, when both men had retired from their respective careers, they would still reference their Caesar's Palace encounter as a defining moment in their understanding of what it meant to be truly prepared for life's unexpected challenges and how genuine respect could emerge from the most unlikely confrontations.